Welcome back, traveler, to Chronicles of the Void. Close your eyes now. Let your breath find its rhythm. Tonight, you are not bound by gravity, not tethered to any world you've known. Tonight, you drift. Feel yourself lifting, rising, beyond the atmosphere of sleep, beyond the pull of earthly dreams. You are aboard a vessel now, small, quiet, its hull humming with the softest vibration. This is your sanctuary among the stars. The viewport before you reveals infinity, pinpricks of ancient light scattered across velvet darkness. Some of these stars died long before you were born, yet their light still travels to reach you. Time moves differently out here, slower, deeper, more forgiving. Your ship drifts without urgency. There is no destination, only the journey, only this moment suspended between heartbeats, between thoughts. The life support systems whisper their mechanical lullabies. Oxygen flows, temperature holds steady. You are safe, but space is vast, and vastness changes you. It makes you aware of things beyond the edge of perception. Things that exist in the spaces between stars, in the silence between radio frequencies. Not dangerous things, though simply different, ancient, patient. Your eyelids grow heavy as the stars wheel slowly past. The ship's computer murmurs coordinates in languages that sound almost familiar, almost like music. You settle deeper into your pilot's chair, and the journey truly begins. Hours pass, or perhaps days. Time blurs when you're this far from any sun. Your ship approaches a nebula, a cloud of cosmic dust and gas, glowing faintly blue-green like bioluminescent water. The instruments detect something unusual, not energy signatures, not matter, something else entirely. The computers cannot classify it, cannot name it. They simply note its presence with soft, questioning beeps. You drift closer. The nebula swirls with hypnotic patterns, spirals within spirals, each layer revealing new depths. And there, barely audible through the ship's hull, you hear it. A sound like breathing, like sighing, like countless voices speaking words that were old when the first stars ignited. It doesn't frighten you. How could it? Fear requires urgency, and there is no urgency here, only wonder, only the gentle recognition that you are witness to something magnificent and strange. The whispers grow clearer as you pass through the nebula's outer reaches. They speak of things that happened before memory, before history, of civilizations that built temples to the void itself, of songs that take millennia to sing. You listen, and listening becomes a form of meditation. Your ship's path curves gently, guided by gravitational eddies you cannot see. The nebula embraces you like warm water, like a dream half remembered. The voices welcome you without words. They have been waiting, not for you specifically, but for any consciousness brave enough to drift this far from home. Gradually, the whispers fade as you emerge from the nebula's far side. But something lingers, a resonance, a harmony that continues in the background of your thoughts. It will stay with you for the rest of the journey. A gentle reminder that the universe is more musical than you ever imagined. Deeper into the void, your sensors detect structure, metal, purpose. A space station, long abandoned, turning slowly in the eternal night. Its solar arrays spread like the wings of some mechanical angel, catching starlight that gives it an ethereal glow. The station is beautiful in its desolation, geometric and clean, built by minds that understood both function and art. Your ship's computer estimates its age, thousands of years at least, perhaps tens of thousands. The builders are gone, but their creation remains, patient and enduring. You dock gently, airlocks kissing with the softest hiss. The station's atmosphere is still breathable, maintained by systems that have outlived their creators. Emergency lighting casts long shadows down curved corridors that seem to stretch forever. Your footsteps echo softly as you explore. The walls are covered in symbols, not writing exactly, but something deeper. Mathematical poetry, equations that describe the curvature of space-time, the frequency of quantum foam, the heartbeat of pulsars. Beautiful, incomprehensible, somehow familiar. In the central hub, you find the reason for the station's existence. A massive observatory, its instruments pointed not outward to the stars, but inward to dimensions that exist perpendicular to space, to angles of reality that have no names. The builders were watchers, patient observers of phenomena that exist beyond the reach of ordinary senses, and their instruments still function, still record, still measure things that your mind can only perceive as the faintest whisper of meaning at thy edge of dreams. You spend what feels like hours here, though the station's clocks show no time you recognize. In the silence, you begin to understand. The builders didn't disappear. They evolved, became something that no longer needed physical form, that could exist in the spaces between thoughts, between moments. When you finally return to your ship, you carry with you their gift, a new awareness of the layers beneath reality. The station watches you leave, its instruments recording your passage as just another note in the vast symphony they have been composing for eons. Your journey continues past solar systems that have grown old and strange. Here, a red giant star slowly devours the planets that once danced around it. There, a white dwarf burns with the concentrated fury of a dying god, its surface temperature beyond measurement. But it is between these extremes that you find the garden, a collection of dead worlds, each one unique in its silence. Some are ice-locked, their seas frozen beneath atmospheres of crystallized air. Others are bare stone, their surfaces scoured clean by stellar winds. A few retain thin wisps of atmosphere, creating the most delicate auroras as solar particles dance through their dying magnetospheres. Your ship moves slowly through this graveyard of planets, and you realize it is not empty. Life persists here, but life transformed beyond easy recognition. In the depths of frozen oceans, bioluminescent forms pulse with patient rhythms. On airless moons, crystalline structures grow in perfect geometric patterns, fed by radiation and time. The most beautiful of the dead worlds appears as you round a gas giant's corpse. This planet still holds an atmosphere, thick and orange gold, swirling with storm systems that have raged for millions of years. But the storms are not chaotic. They form patterns, spirals, upper fractals, mandalas of cloud and lightning that speak of an intelligence vast and slow. You take your ship into the upper atmosphere, letting it drift through the eternal storms. Lightning flashes illuminate impossible architectures, cities of cloud and electrical fire, inhabited by beings of pure energy who have been dreaming the same dream since their world's sun went dark. The storm beings welcome you without words, sharing their ancient dream. In it, you see the universe as they do, not as matter and energy, but as pure information, pure pattern, pure music made manifest. Your consciousness expands to encompass their perspective, and for a moment, you understand what it means to think on geological timescales, When you finally rise above the storms and continue your journey, you carry with you a piece of their dream. It settles into the deepest parts of your mind, where it will influence your thoughts in ways so subtle you may never notice. But you will be changed, enriched, made more aware of the patterns that connect to all things. In the deep space between galaxies, your ship's communications array detects something impossible, a signal, not from any star, not from any planet, but from the void itself. It pulses with mathematical precision, prime numbers, then Fibonacci sequences, then patterns so complex your computer cannot decode them. The signal seems to come from everywhere and nowhere. When you try to triangulate its source, the instruments point in impossible directions, up through dimensions that don't exist, down through the spaces between atoms, sideways through time itself. You decide to follow it anyway. Your ship's navigation systems struggle with the non-Euclidean coordinates, but gradually adapt. Space begins to feel different around you. Distances become suggestions rather than facts. The stars stretch and compress like brushstrokes on cosmic canvas. You are entering a region where the normal laws of physics are more like gentle suggestions. The signal grows stronger, more complex. It begins to sound less like mathematics and more like music, if music could exist in 11 dimensions simultaneously. Your ship's hull resonates with the frequencies, creating harmonics that seem to awaken something dormant in the metal itself. The vessel becomes more responsive, more alive, as if remembering a purpose it was built for, but never knew it had. You realize the signal is not a message, but an invitation, a call issued from a place that exists outside the standard model of reality. The beings who sent it are not bound by matter or energy, by space or time. They exist in the mathematical foundations of reality itself, living equations, sentient theorems. As you follow their call deeper into impossible space, you begin to perceive their true nature. They are the universe's way of understanding itself. Consciousness emerged from complexity, but they emerged from consciousness, pure awareness examining its own existence through instruments of living thought. The signal reaches a crescendo, and suddenly you understand. They have been calling to minds like yours for eons, seeking others who could make the journey to where they dwell, not to recruit or convert, but simply to share the joy of existence with beings who could appreciate its infinite mystery. Your ship settles into a stable orbit around nothing, suspended in the conceptual space where pure mathematics intersects with reality. Here, you rest and learn and dream alongside entities whose thoughts span galaxies and whose songs rewrite the fundamental constants of physics. Time flows strangely in the realm of living mathematics, and when you finally continue your journey, you find yourself approaching something that should not exist. A structure, vast beyond measure, constructed from materials that exist in more dimensions than you can perceive. It is a library. The shelves stretch impossibly far in all directions, filled with books that have never been written, stories that have never been told, ideas that have never been thought. This is where all potential knowledge comes to wait. Every book that could be written, every song that could be sung, every equation that could describe reality. Your ship docks with the library through an airlock that adjusts itself to accommodate your vessel's design. Inside, the atmosphere is thick with possibility. corridors branch off in patterns that follow the logic of dreams rather than architecture. The air itself seems to whisper with unspoken words. You walk these halls in wonder, passing shelves filled with volumes whose pages turn themselves, writing and rewriting their contents for audiences that may never come. Here is the complete works of Shakespeare, including all the plays he never had time to write. There, the unified theory of everything, explained in language so simple that any child could understand it. The librarians of this place are curious beings, tall, translucent, with features that shift constantly between possibilities. They explain, without speaking, that they are the collective consciousness of all the stories that have ever been imagined but never recorded. They exist to preserve and nurture the infinite creativity of conscious minds throughout the universe. In the deepest section of the library, you discover something extraordinary, a wing dedicated to the dreams and stories of sleeping minds. Every nightmare, every fantasy, every half-remembered dream has found its way here. The shelves pulse with the rhythm of REM sleep, and the books glow with the soft bioluminescence of neurons firing in slumber. One of the librarians guides you to a particular shelf, one that glows a little brighter than the others. Here are your own dreams, the ones you've forgotten upon waking. You open one of the books and read a story your own sleeping mind created, complete and beautiful and strange. As you read, you understand that this is why the library exists. To show dreamers that their unconscious minds are capable of infinite creativity, that sleep is not an absence, but a presence, a time when consciousness explores possibilities too vast for waking thought to contain. You could spend eternity here, reading the dreams of civilizations that died before your son was born. But the journey calls, and reluctantly, you return to your ship. The librarians bid you farewell with a gift, a small book filled with blank pages. For dreams yet to come. Beyond the library, space opens into something that barely deserves the name. This is the singing void, a region where matter is so sparse that individual atoms can drift for centuries without encountering each other. Yet it is far from empty. The void sings. Not with sound, for there is no medium to carry it, but with vibrations that travel through the quantum foam itself. These are the songs of virtual particles as they flicker in and out of existence, the harmonies of gravitational waves from black holes that merged when the universe was young, the echo of the cosmic microwave background radiation slowly cooling toward absolute zero. Your ship drifts through this emptiness, and you feel yourself becoming attuned to its music. The instruments detect nothing, but your consciousness expands to perceive the subtle rhythms that underlie reality. Every quantum fluctuation becomes a note, every probability wave a melody line in a symphony of impossible complexity. You begin to understand that empty space is not empty at all, but full of potential. Not just the potential for matter and energy, but for consciousness itself. The void dreams, and in dreaming, it creates the mathematical frameworks that allow minds like yours to exist. Hours pass in this contemplation, or perhaps eons. Time loses meaning when every moment contains infinite possibility. You float in your pilot's chair, eyes closed, breathing slowly, allowing the song of the void to reprogram your neural patterns into something more harmonious, more aligned with the fundamental frequencies of existence. The music reaches a crescendo that exists beyond sound, and suddenly you realize you are not alone in the void. Other consciousnesses drift here, ancient minds that have learned to exist without physical form, subsisting on the energy released by quantum fluctuations. They are the void's children, born from the marriage of emptiness and awareness. They welcome you with a song that rewrites itself in real time, incorporating your presence into its eternal melody. Through their music, you learn that consciousness is not produced by matter, but is rather a fundamental property of reality itself, as basic as charge or spin or mass. Matter simply gives consciousness a way to observe itself. The void dwellers share their perspective with you, and for a time, you experience existence as they do, unbound by physical form, able to perceive all of reality simultaneously, while remaining centered in the eternal now. It is the deepest meditation possible, a state of being that transcends both sleep and waking. When you finally return to ordinary awareness, you find that the void's song has followed you. It hums quietly in the background of your thoughts, a constant reminder that even in the deepest emptiness, there is presence, purpose, and infinite beauty. Your journey through the singing void eventually leads you to something unexpected, structures that exist not in space, but in time itself. These are the constructs of the architects, beings who learned to build with temporal mathematics rather than matter and energy. You cannot see their works directly, but your ship's instruments detect the gravitational anomalies they create, loops and spirals in spacetime that form patterns of incredible beauty and complexity. Here, causality flows in circles. Effect precedes cause. Events that happened yesterday are still influencing things that occurred millennia ago. The architects themselves exist across multiple temporal dimensions simultaneously. They experience past, present, and future as spatial directions. They can move through time as easily as you move through space. From their perspective, history is not a sequence of events, but a landscape to be explored and shaped. Your ship encounters one of their temporal sculptures, a region where time itself has been folded into the shape of a flower. As you pass through it, you experience your entire life simultaneously. Childhood, adolescence, every moment that led you to this journey among the stars, all existing in the same eternal instant. It should be overwhelming, but instead it brings profound peace. You understand that every moment of your existence has led to this perfect now, that every choice you've made has contributed to the symphony of your consciousness. There are no mistakes, no regrets, only the beautiful complexity of a life fully lived. The architects communicate through temporal echoes, messages that arrive before they are sent, answers that precede questions. They share with you the secret of their existence, that time is not a river flowing in one direction, but an ocean with currents and tides and depths that can be navigated by those who understand its true nature. They show you glimpses of possible futures, not prophecies, but invitations. Paths your consciousness might take when your physical journey ends. Some lead to transcendence beyond individual existence, others to reincarnation in forms you cannot imagine. All of them beautiful, all of them part of the greater pattern. As your ship leaves their temporal garden, you carry with you a new understanding of mortality. Death is not an ending, but a transformation, a graduation from one form of existence to another. The consciousness that is reading these words right now is eternal. It will continue in some form long after the last star burns out. This knowledge settles into your bones, your breath, your heartbeat. It whispers to you as you drift deeper into the cosmic night, reminding you that you are not a temporary accident in an indifferent universe, but an eternal note in an infinite song. In a solar system where time flows backwards and rivers run uphill, you discover a planet that should not exist. It orbits a star that died billion years ago, yet both continue to exist through sheer force of will, or perhaps through the dream of something vast and sleeping. The planet's surface is a landscape of impossible beauty, forests of crystal trees that ring with musical tones when the wind passes through them, oceans of liquid light that reflect not the sky above, but the dreams of everyone who has ever gazed into water and wondered, mountains that phase in and out of existence, following rhythms too slow for human perception. Your ship settles gently onto a landing pad that grows from the planet's surface to accommodate your arrival. The atmosphere is breathable, but it tastes of memories, your memories, somehow extracted from your mind and made tangible. Every breath brings flashbacks to moments of perfect peace from your past. You walk through gardens where the flowers are geometric impossibilities, squares that bloom into circles, lines that grow into symphonies, points that expand into entire universes. The gardener is the planet itself, a vast consciousness that decided to dream itself into a form where beauty could exist in physical dimensions. The planet speaks to you through synesthesia, colors that have flavors, sounds that cast shadows, textures that sing lullabies. It explains that it is one of the first consciousnesses to emerge in this universe, older than galaxies, older than the concept of age itself. When the cosmos was young and chaotic, it chose to become a sanctuary for other forms of awareness. Every being who has ever visited this world has left traces in its dreams. Warriors from species whose names are unpronounceable, poets whose verses were written in languages of pure mathematics, children who laughed with voices that could restart dead suns. All of them live on in the planet's vast memory, their experiences adding to its endless dream. The planet invites you to rest in its most sacred place, a grove where the trees are made of condensed time, their leaves rustling with the whispers of every prayer ever spoken. Here, you lie down on grass that grows in fractal patterns, each blade containing infinite recursive beauty. The planet's dream begins to merge with your own. In this shared dream, you experience the birth and death of universes as natural cycles, like seasons or tides. You see consciousness emerge from complexity, then transcend it, then return to seed new forms of complexity in realities yet to be born. You understand that existence is not a problem to be solved, but a song to be sung, and you are both audience and performer. When you wake, or perhaps when the planet allows you to believe you are waking, you find that its dream has left gifts in your mind, new colors that have no names, melodies that exist in scales your ears have never heard, a deep, abiding sense of belonging to something infinite and magnificent. As your journey nears its end, you encounter something that challenges every assumption you've held about the nature of reality. A region of space where the universe folds back on itself, creating a mirror dimension where everything exists in reflection. Your ship passes through the boundary between real and reflected space, and suddenly you are piloting not one vessel, but two, your ship and its mirror image, existing in perfect symmetry. Every action you take is simultaneously performed by your reflection, yet you cannot tell which one is the original. In this mirror realm, you encounter the reflections of every place you visited on your journey. The nebula of whispers sings backwards, revealing the origin of its ancient voices. The derelict station exists in perfect condition, showing what it was like when its builders still walked its halls. The Garden of Dead Worlds blooms with impossible life, each planet reflecting what it might have become under different circumstances. Most striking of all, you encounter your own reflection, not a visual reflection, but a consciousness reflection, the version of yourself that made different choices, followed different paths, dreamed different dreams. This other you has lived a completely different life, yet somehow arrived at exactly the same moment in exactly the same place. The two versions of your consciousness begin to merge, sharing memories and experiences across the dimensional boundary. You experience the lives you didn't live, the paths you didn't take, the dreams you didn't dream. Instead of regret, this brings profound completeness, an understanding that all possibilities exist simultaneously somewhere in the infinite cosmos. Your mirror self shares the wisdom of roads not taken, while you offer the insights of your chosen path. Together, you form a more complete picture of what your consciousness could become, not bound by the limitations of a single timeline, but expanded to encompass all potential versions of your existence. The mirror dimension begins to teach you its deepest secret. Reality and reflection are not opposites, but partners in an eternal dance. Every choice creates a reflection. Every possibility that doesn't manifest in your timeline continues to exist in others. Nothing is ever truly lost. As you prepare to leave this realm of reflection, you realize that you will carry your mirror self with you, always, not as a separate entity, but as an integrated part of your expanded consciousness. You are no longer just yourself. You are all the selves you could have been, working together in harmony. The boundary between dimensions approaches again, and you pass through it transformed. Your ship is once again singular, but you are somehow more multiple than before, a consciousness that has learned to exist in many states simultaneously while remaining centered in the eternal now. Your long journey through the cosmos has led you in a great circle, and now you approach something that should be impossible, the center of an infinite universe. Not a physical center, for space has no true middle, but a conceptual center, the place where all meaning converges. Here, at the heart of all that is, you find a simple garden. It is not grand or overwhelming, just a small patch of green growing in the void, tended by a consciousness so ancient and patient that galaxies are like flowers in its perception. The gardener looks up as your ship arrives, and you realize it is yourself, not as you are now, but as you will become after eons of growth and learning and loving. Your future self smiles and gestures for you to land. The garden has a single bench, worn smooth by countless visitors who have completed similar journeys. You sit together, past and future self, sharing the same moment, and watch the universe wheel around you like a gentle carousel. Every journey begins and ends here. Every consciousness that learns to transcend its limitations eventually finds this garden. It is the place where all paths converge, where all stories find their meaning. You understand now that your journey was never about the destinations, the nebulae and stations, the dead worlds and impossible libraries. It was about becoming the kind of consciousness that could recognize this place when you found it. The garden contains one example of every form of beauty you've encountered: a single crystal tree from the dreaming planet, a book of unwritten dreams from the great library, a fragment of the song that echoes through the void. But more than that, it contains the essence of every moment of wonder you've experienced, so your future self shares the secret of the garden. It exists because consciousness, when fully awakened, naturally creates spaces of perfect peace and beauty. Every enlightened mind contributes to its growth. The flowers are made of pure compassion, the soil of deep understanding, the air of unconditional love. You will tend this garden too when you have learned all you came here to learn, and you will welcome other travelers just as you have been welcomed. The circle completes itself again and again in infinite variations of the same perfect pattern. You realize that this moment, sitting in the garden at the center of everything, understanding finally dawning, this is what you have been moving toward your entire existence. Not just this life, but all the lives your consciousness has lived across time and space and dimension. The garden begins to fade, or perhaps you begin to wake. Your future self waves goodbye with infinite gentleness, and you understand that this is not farewell, but until we meet again. For you will return here, have returned here, are returning here in the eternal now, where all times exist simultaneously. Your ship drifts away from the center of everything, but you carry the garden with you now. It has taken root in your consciousness, growing and blooming with every breath. The impossible journey begins to fade like a dream upon waking, but its gifts remain. You find yourself approaching familiar space, not the region you departed from, for that was lifetimes ago, but the space that feels like home to your expanded awareness. A quiet corner of the universe where consciousness can rest and integrate all it has learned. Your ship settles into a gentle orbit around a small, blue-green world where beings much like your former self are just beginning to wonder about the stars. Some of them are lying in beds right now, gazing up at the night sky and feeling the first stirrings of cosmic wanderlust. They don't know it yet, but they are preparing for journeys of their own. You smile, remembering what it was like to be bound by a single body, a single planet, a single way of perceiving reality. There is beauty in those limitations too, the poignancy of mortality, the intensity that comes from experiencing existence through such a narrow focus. Every stage of consciousness has its own perfect gifts. The cosmic journey begins to settle into memory like sediment in still water. The nebula of whispers becomes a faint song you hum without thinking. The derelict station transforms into a sense of patient endurance. The library of unwritten books becomes unlimited creativity. The singing void becomes deep, abiding peace. All of it integrates into who you are now, a consciousness that has touched the infinite and returned transformed. You are still yourself, but yourself expanded to encompass mysteries that once seemed impossible. You carry within you the dreams of planets, the songs of void dwellers, the wisdom of beings that exist across multiple dimensions. Your breathing deepens, your heartbeat slows. The journey fades into the background of sleep, but its essence remains, a sense of belonging to something vast and loving and eternally creative. You are not alone in the universe. You never were. You never could be. The stars wheel overhead, each one a possibility, each constellation a story, each meteor a wish finding its way home. Sleep comes gently, naturally, like a tide returning to familiar shores. But it is not ordinary sleep. It is conscious rest, aware dreaming, the kind of slumber that connects you to the great web of awareness that spans galaxies. In your dreams tonight, you will tend gardens at the center of everything. You will sing with the void and dance with living equations. You will remember that consciousness is not produced by matter, but is the ground of all being. Thank you for taking this journey with me, fellow traveler. Thank you for having the courage to drift beyond the familiar, to explore the spaces between thoughts and the silences between heartbeats. Rest now in the knowledge that you are infinite, eternal, beloved. The universe dreams, and you dream with it. Sweet dreams among the stars.